Well, good evening, race fans. In the Zone Racing ARCA series coming at you here tonight from Kern County Raceway in Bakersfield, California, otherwise known as Kevin Harvick's Kern County Raceway. Recent acquisition from Kevin Harvick within the last couple of years. And tonight, rolling in is the ITZR ARCA series. Right now underway is practice here tonight as we are getting settled in for the main event here on the top of the hour. Currently, fastest in practice is none other than your two-time race winner this season, Peyton Howell. Second fastest in this practice section is Brady Weileman. We saw a little bit from him last week running up in the top half of the field. Larson Parker, somewhat of a newer name here in the top of the running order during practice. Daniel Pope II and Caleb Hall rounds out your top five during this practice session at the moment. Tonight's main event from Kern County Raceway is going to be 125 laps the distance. It's a relatively unknown track to myself, as I haven't called any races at this track in my minimal career on broadcasting races, so definitely a favorite being a local Pacific Northwester for myself. And a Harvick fan to boot. So far logged into the event here tonight, it looks like we've got 35 people in the server. That's still pretty early in the practice session though, so chances are there's going to be a couple more coming in late here. Like we got Jackson Lewis back this week. It missed one of the last races that we had at New Hampshire. He ended up second in the first race at North Wilkesboro, so trying to come back after missing a race is not always ideal, but all these drivers will keep looking forward and trying to focus on the next race at hand. so far with only 2 races down this season. We've had 2 standout drivers. Obviously the 52 of Peyton Howell and the number 91 of Dylan Bates, both of which finished podiums in both of the first 2 races. That's quite the stat to have on the line here, rolling into Kern County Raceway, that they're going to be wanting to try and keep that statistic rolling. Podiums obviously hard to achieve, no matter how many cars are on field. When you got a field usually about 35 plus drivers, when you're finishing podium, you're definitely achieving something special there. And so we'll see if they can keep that rolling, or perhaps maybe someone else has got something in the mix here tonight to try and steal some of those podium finishes. Practice isn't always a big indicator of how qualifying is going to go, but if the speeds and the lap times are consistent between practice to qualifying, looks like an 18.1 around the 18.2 bracket is going to be a good pole position run here tonight. Perhaps even getting up into that 17-second bracket with qualifying trim. As the drivers continue to finish out the laps here under practice to get a feel for what their cars have, getting the right setups tuned in. Both of the last 2 tracks that we've gone to here have progressive banking. And tonight it's going to be interesting on a shorter track than New Hampshire to see how the progressive banking gets these drivers around the field. About 9 minutes left in practice here. We're up to 37 entered into the racetrack, 36 of which have turned a lap time. Looking like I got the gremlins worked out of my settings for iRacing here tonight. Seems to be drawing all 35, 36 cars that are out there turning laps right now. Hopefully that will stay true and we'll get to catch all the wrecks, all the chaos, whatever may unfold here tonight at Kern. Well, I'm not 100% certain how many cars that Kern County holds here in iRacing, but if any of the last couple of tracks are any indicators, tonight we may not see as many people going home. So far, 37 people, and usually we see about the top 35 qualify for the main event, so still in a bit of a holding pattern here as there's still 5 minutes left in practice, still plenty of time for people to hop in to the race here tonight. That's kind of neat. The 30 car here kind of reminds me of a Takuma Sato kind of style car. For those of you who may not know who Takuma Sato is, an IndyCar driver. Usually drove the number 30 with blue and white, very similar to that, and into Honda. So first thing I thought when I saw the number 30 with a Honda badge on it was definitely Takuma Sato, a Indianapolis 500 winner in his own. I don't know if that's the intended purpose on that paint scheme, but it definitely gives me some Takuma Sato vibes, which is pretty cool. That is the number 30 of Will Dravecki. I feel like that's a newer car I haven't seen recently in the last two races, so definitely I am one to have an eye for the paint schemes when it comes to race cars. I definitely do dig unique paint schemes. Still not a lot of change here in the practice session. Still Peyton Howell with the fastest lap time of an 18.14. Looks Looks like Larson Parker jumped up to 4th there on one of his last laps at an 18.21. Dylan Schreiner up to 5th with an 18.23. So some of those faster laps starting to pop up on the time charts right now. Seven cars entered, 37 with a lap time qualified in on practice here. These drivers are going to get buttoned up here shortly, try to put together 2 really good laps to qualify themselves for the main event. Looking like we might have just a handful not make it into the main event here tonight. So very, very small group. Still, some folks are going to end up going home. We got the 77 of Jackson Lewis. He just turned an 18.29 up into the top 10 here at the end of practice. Alrighty, practice is in the books. Peyton Howell, Brady Weileman, Caleb Hall, Larson Parker, and Dylan Schreiner, your top 5 during the practice segment there. So getting the head start on coming out. Here's a few of the drivers. Looks like Larson Parker and the 11 of Daniel Pope II. Matthew Barkhouse. Keep an eye on Daniel Pope's time. I'm gonna wager that he's gonna have a decent qualifying lap here. He seems solid the first couple races. But everyone's going to have their target set firmly on the 52 car here tonight. Peyton Howell's going to be a tough adversary to beat for pole time. Larson Parker jumps to the top at an 18.26, close to what we were seeing in practice times. Daniel Pope II, an 18.37, and here comes his second lap across the line He's going to be locked in with an 18.32. Up to the top of the charts now, it is Dylan Schreiner with an 18.20. AJ Rogers jumps to the top with an 18.18. Still waiting on Peyton Howell. It doesn't even look like our pole setter from last week is on the field this week. That was the 44 car. We do have Dylan Bates on track though. This may be a good one. Dylan Bates turns in a 18.44. That's good for 18th at the moment. Peyton Howell still waiting to take his lap time. But yeah, from what I can see, it doesn't look like Kenny Brady's making the race here tonight. Your pole setter from last week at New Hampshire. And then if you look back at the first race at North Wilkesboro, pole position went to Caleb Hall. Caleb Hall is in the race here tonight, but hasn't turned a lap yet. We're still waiting to see what he may put in for a lap time. Jumping up to second, it is Andrew Fayash III with an 18.20, right behind AJ Rogers. Todd Guerin, who we're looking at right there, turned an 18.30, good for 11th. Now let's jump to Caleb Hall here. Pole position at the first race of the year. We'll see if maybe he can capture lightning in the bottle again here tonight at Kern County. Meanwhile, it looks like Peyton Howell's on his lap as well. We'll kind of jump back and forth here. Caleb Hall's first lap was a 19.25. That's 34th at the moment. He's going to have to pick it up on that second lap. Peyton Howell on the other side here going in for his first lap. And that's going to be an 18.31. Caleb Hall jumped up to an 18.24. That's good for 9th. But that's all he had. That was his second lap. Peyton Howell about to finish his second lap here. We'll see what he's got. And not quite, but just barely in the top 10 there with an 18.26. We've got 2 cars left to run here in qualifying. Shane Klein and Josh Oswald. So proverbial pole setter at the moment would be AJ Rogers at an 18.18. And that looks like the last 2 cars didn't make a time here, so maybe everyone's going to be in the show. We'll have to see. So, pole position here today, it is AJ Rogers with Jackson Lewis qualified second. Andrew Fayash III, Dylan Schreiner, Bladen Edwards, Matthew Barkhouse, Brady Weileman, Bill Tomer, Caleb Hall, and Peyton Howell, your top 10. Howell's going to have to come deep in the top 10 there. We'll see how he does tonight. Mike Alexander, Larson Parker, Eric Tracy, Cody Boehm, and Jacob Boehm, 14th and 15th. Followed by Todd Guerin, Aaron Abendroth, Tyler Rice, and then the rest of the lineup here tonight. You got Daniel Pope II in 19, Jason Lottridge, Zachary Onen, Kieran Church, Will Trevecki, Corey Bigley, Jeff By Jr., Denver Traves, Scott Negus, Tim Weinreich, Dylan Bates starting deep in the field here, Peter Fisher, William Griffith, David Hall, Doug Gayer, Aaron Ward, Caleb Hill, Shane Klein, and Josh Oswald. So getting ready for the start here tonight. 125 laps the distance. As they're rolling around under pace here. It's going to be AJ Rogers in that number 17 car. Jackson Lewis in the 77. Andrew Fayash, the third, in the 157. Dylan Schreiner in the 92, and Bladen Edwards, along with Matthew Barkhouse, top 6. Bill Tomer, Brady Weileman, Caleb Hall, and Peyton Howell coming from 10th.
Green, green, green.
They go roaring into turn 1, and with the early advantage, it's going to be Jackson Lewis. Jackson Lewis finished second in the first race of the season from North Wilkesboro. As I already highlighted earlier, missed the second race at New Hampshire. We got a couple laps under our belt without any big drama so far as they get kind of sealed out. Single file for the first 5, 6, 7 in line now. As this is about where you want to just try to kind of get a feel for the track. First caution. So the caution fell here on lap 4. And yet again, it looks like the latency maybe have caught me off guard again. I don't have what the caution's for. We're looking at the scenic shot here. The 91 is the last car in line in the picture, so it must have happened outside the top 25 there. We will try to cover it if we catch it, but it seems like I didn't catch what happened there. So first caution, and it looks like already out of the race is a handful of drivers, if the ticker ain't lying to me. Scott Negus still running, so ticker's giving me all kinds of misinformation there. It seems like no one's really out of the race. we're drawing all the way back to the tail end of the field, so I'm not sure where the wreck happened here. Try to get an idea of maybe seeing some damage on the cars. Back half of the field, maybe it was a solo spinner. Not seeing a whole lot of damage on the backpack here. Still good news, at least there's no retirements from the caution, as everyone's going to return back to the restart here. All 36 entries running strong. Only one driver failed to qualify here today. And that one driver that failed to qualify was the number 20 of Shane Klein. Jackson Lewis back to the lead here. Now up into second. That is Andrew Fayash the third. AJ Rogers, who had the pole, has dropped back to third at the moment, side by side for second place. Dylan Schreiner now knocking on the door, trying to get up into the top three. Mike Alexander had a decent run last race at New Hampshire. Got snake bitten by some misfortune mid-race there. But it looks like he's bouncing back strong here tonight, running in the top 5 again. Last race's results didn't really reflect how good of a race he had. He probably should have had about a top 5 car. And yet again tonight, showing that he's got top 5 pace, fighting for 4th and 3rd right now. Peyton Howell's settled in, kind of running his game at the moment, moving up into actually up to 8th right now. Let's see what we're under caution for this time. Oh, there we go. There's part of the wreck, but yet again, fortunately, my latency is keeping me from catching it all. That's the tail end of the wreck. The 94. So involved in the wreck looks to be Doug Gaillere, Bladen Edwards, and the 71 of Peter Fisher. So 3-car wreck at the tail end of the field. And latency keeps giving me fits here as I don't have the tail end of the field very fully broadcasted, but so they're at the back of the field, 34th, 35th, and 36th. It looks like Josh Oswald on pit road as well may or may not have been involved as part of that wreck. the lights are off on the pace car here on lap 18, and we'll get back going. Green flag racing. For the restart, it's going to be Jackson Lewis and AJ Rogers, followed by Mike Alexander, Dylan Schreiner, Andrew Fayash III, Caleb Hall, Peyton Howell, Brady Weileman, Matthew Barkhouse, and Jacob Boehm. Your top 10. Oh, it looks like it's going to be 3 wide for second place, as there's some damage. There's some chaos and carnage going on at the front of the field. They're now 4 wide. Your points leader in the middle of that 4 wide action. And this time, I think we have caught the wreck. I'll be able to get some replays on that one. That was a chaotic restart there from the word go. And so, looked like from the front of the field there, after that went all haywire. 4 wide with quite a few drivers, the 92 involved. And everyone else just kind of piled in there. Well, let's hop back to live. This looks like we're probably going to get back to green here pretty quickly. A lot of drivers knocked out of that one, or at least slightly on the mend. Based on what I'm looking at here in the running order, it looks like Jeff By Jr., Doug Gayer, Caleb Hall, Aaron Abendroth, Dylan Schreiner, Scott Negus, Josh Oswald, William Griffith, and Peter Fisher have been kind of knocked into the back end of the field right now. The lights are off on the pace car, and we'll get back rolling here on lap 24. Somewhat of a new front end of the field after we saw
Green flag.
the chaos that unfolded there. AJ Rogers dropped all the way back to 11th after getting in that little bit of a tango. But the one thing not slowing anyone down right now is Jackson Lewis. Still holding the lead, keeping that position at the front. But new up into second place, it is Mike Alexander. Slow and steady progression to the front. And we're back under caution again here, folks. That right there is the 92 of Dylan Schreiner. He had been up front to start this race, and he's already locked out into 33rd off the track, getting some repairs done to that 92. So that's a tough break. Well, yet again, still not sure what happened for that caution. As we're getting ready for another single file restart here.
Green flag, green flag.
It's going to be Jackson Lewis over Mike Alexander, and now Brady Weileman jumping his way up to third. Peyton Howell now up into fifth. Well, back at the front, Jackson Lewis starting to look at some lap traffic in front of him here. Looks like they pull aside to let him by. No drama, no foul. But as we're getting some green flag laps in underway here, lap traffic is really going to start to factor in. Especially since so many of the cars have wounded cars already. Oh, and right in front of our leaders, that was the 94 of Doug Gaillard. Just a solo spin, the back half of the field. Loses it right there, brings out the caution, and what a close call for your leader as he come up on the stalled 94 car here. The 125 laps here at Kern, I doubt we're going to see much pit strategy play into this race. It's pretty much going to be a run it to the finish kind of race. So the key here is going to be saving those tires and stretching them as long as you can. 125 laps should be very doable. You never know. Once we get settled into a nice rhythm here, they might start burning through tires and positions might start swapping. We're doubled up for the restart. As Jackson Lewis, Mike Alexander, Brady Weileman, and Peyton Howell, your top four. Lap 41 in the books. And look who's a-knocking at the front of the field. That is the 52 of Peyton Howell. Onto the podium for the first time here tonight. Far before halfway in the race. Here's a move for second, materializing the 52. Sticking his nose down there. 75, though, Alexander's going to hold the position. But the blood is in the water. The 75 knows that he's got the target on his back right now. As the Shark is reaching ever closer to the front of the field. Right there in fourth, you've got Larson Parker, who was solid in qualifying here today. Up 8 spots at the moment from where they qualified, running in fourth. Biggest gainer at the moment is Dylan Bates at a grand total of 14 to the good from where he qualified deep in the field tonight. He's trying to make it up on the racetrack. And the 75 looking on the inside of the 77. That's going to open the door for the 52 to go around the outside. And we're back under caution again here. as we get set for the restart here. Not a lot's changed at the front except for a new person on the front row, that being Peyton Howell, getting to start front and center here for the first time tonight.
Green, green, green.
We're back and rolling here on lap 54. Peyton Howell up to second and knocking on the door. It was actually a big move to get around the 75 of Mike Alexander before that caution fell, as it gave him a great starting position for this restart. And methodically looking down the 77 here, trying to figure out a spot to make the pass. Howell proved that he can get the job done on the outside here, and so maybe that's going to be his cup of tea, getting around the outside here at Kern County. And just as I say that, he's peeking on the inside, knocking on the door. He's got a wheel on the back bumper of the 77. He has to settle back in line. Passing on the inside is going to be hard here. He's keeping it close, keeping it interesting. And now up to third, Larson Parker making some moves. It looked like the 157 of Andrew Fayash got way loose in the background there, and he is dropping backwards. Now we got a dogfight for the lead. Howell side by side with the 77 of Lewis. They bump. Howell gets loose and regains his position in second, but that could have been ugly if he hadn't recovered there as quickly as he did. And the fact that he was able to recover and not lose position to Larson Parker is pretty impressive in its own as well, as we've got a trio of Toyotas leading the field here at Kern. Jackson Lewis, he's pretty dominantly led most of the laps here tonight, but he's going to have a tall order to fill with the drivers right behind him. Ooh, here we go. We got something on the camera here. That looks like the 30 of Will Dravicki. And that is the 80 of Denver Travis. He gets loose, collects the... I want to say that's the 03. It's hard to tell. 46 is coming into the picture as well. And a hard hit by the 3. 22, that is Kieran Church as well involved in it. The 3 of David Hill. And the 30 of Will Dravicki. And that's off the into turn 2 there. Yeah, and that was the 03, but I don't have a... Jason Lottridge in the 03 car. That's who was also involved there. The 22 of Kieran Church. Caught the tail end of that. Already back to getting ready for the restart. Lap 64 of 125. And it's going to be Lewis and Howell yet again. Going to be interesting to see what Larson Parker has starting on the inside. Second row. Brady Weileman inside third row. And even Cody Boehm had a decent run last race. Looking to try and back it up here tonight.
Green flag, green flag.
They got kind of bunched up there at the front of the field. Looks like Lewis off to a big demanding lead as Howell trying to pick up the sticks. Looks kind of chaotic in the back half here. And they seem to have kind of settled in here for the moment. But if there's a wreck waiting to happen, it's probably going to be within this area. Oh, and there we have a wreck.
Yellow flag is out.
Unfortunately, yet again involved was the 03 of Jason Lottridge. And his car is very rough for the wear. That looks like a retirement waiting. So right here pictured, you got Daniel Pope II in the number 11, the 03 of Jason Lottridge. Lottridge kind of gets up into the 11, gets him loose. Well, maybe not. It looks like maybe the 11 just lost it there. But Bates was right there in the mix. Ooh, did Bates get clipped? No, he didn't. But after the 11 spun, that brought the 03 straight down onto the inner wall. Pretty much destroying that 03 car. Daniel Pope also looking like his car could be out for the count. Well, it has been action-filled here tonight, folks. We are right past halfway now in the race, 70 laps in. Sitting about 65 laps to go. 55 laps, actually. I apparently don't know how to count. With 50 laps left to go, a lot of these drivers have probably been able to save their tires with the constant flow of cautions. And so that really is going to make it interesting here to see who's got the best tires for this short run to the finish. Jackson Lewis keeps taking it down to the apron there. Maybe a strategy on those tires. Usually you don't see drivers do that unless they're trying to save fuel, but I can't imagine there's a whole lot of fuel saving going on or need for it, because at 125 laps here, you should be able to run on a tank. Man, the 70 side, he got a killer start there and drove away from Howell. That was quite the start for Jackson Lewis there. Up to third, Brady Weileman making a move to get in that position. That's going to drop Larson Parker back to fourth, and Cody Boehm on the move as well on the low side. It looks like we've got about 20 cars left running here, with a couple of them scattered throughout the field running with damage. So maybe about 25 cars still running here tonight from the 36 that we had started. And Jackson Lewis is doing a chop job here tonight, holding that lead and giving us some entertainment. That 52, though, ain't going away. Peyton Howell's got a streak on the line. Some might consider it a perfect streak. A lot like a pitcher throwing a perfect game without letting anyone on base. 2 wins on the season in the first 2 starts. Trying to go for 3 in 3. But the stakes are high and the competition is fierce. And he's going to have to beat the best of them out here tonight. Tonight being Jackson Lewis on the occasion. Lewis lost a little bit of time there. The 52 right up on the back bumper. Are we starting to see tire degradation kick in here? That 77 seems to be struggling a little bit. Howell right there, side by side. That's the closest he's been to getting that lead away from the 77. But it's going to have to hold off another lap as the 52 falls back in line. 88 of Brady Weileman stuck up on that high side trying to get around Parker. Bame up into 5th, looking for 4th. And it looked like clipping the wall there might have been the 00 of Jacob Bame. Meanwhile, the lead swapping maybe. Don't want to miss that moment if it happens here. It's a fierce battle for the win right now. As it seems like Howell's got the speed. But Lewis has that track position, which is huge in a moment like this. It's not quite like speedway racing where if you have the lead, you're often a sitting duck. Short track racing, a huge advantage is secured when you got that lead position. You can keep the line from your competitor and really kind of run your own race. The only thing that really mixes it up is when you get lap traffic on the fold. And so far, so good. It doesn't look like they've got a whole lot of lap traffic to deal with. These two drivers are just running their own race right now. And whoever's got the speed, whoever's got the grit, the determination to make it happen will come out on top.
Caution, yellow flag.
We are back under caution here at lap 86. And let me do a quick surf here to see. And this may be our moment where the caution comes out here. Well, the 13 got a little loose there, but never got sideways, so I don't know if... Well, if that was the case, very minor. But part of me is thinking there's a car missing in the picture here. Alrighty. Must have had some pit strategy unfold here for the 46 to be up front. That is unusual. Wow.
Green flag, green flag.
So we must have had some takers down pit road because it looks like Peyton Howe. Okay, we're under caution again here already. That didn't take long at all. That is the 23 of Zachary Onan. Oh, and then, yeah, there's a couple cars. That's the 99. Ouch. That's the 99 right there of Aaron Ward. Right on the front stretch here. Loses it. Spins out. Keeps it down low, though. Doesn't come back into the racing traffic. But it seemed like Onan was also involved as a separate spinner there. Let me actually go back a couple laps here and figure out what exactly happened for the 46 to get all the way up here to the front of the field. Yep, that's exactly what happened. We had some takers down pit road, and he moved up into second place on their behalf for pitting. And so a bunch of people pitted, but only about 4 or 5 cars stayed out. Which pretty much only lost Peyton Howe about 5 spots with that move. And on top of that, he's going to have fresher tires for the final push here tonight. Jackson Lewis, on the other hand, stayed out, saved his stuff to try and hold on to the lead here tonight, and maybe banking on the race going pretty caution heavy for the finish here. We'll get reset here for lap 95, and it looks like maybe going single file restart here. And we're back and rolling here today. Peyton Howe getting back up to 5th here. He's going to pick these guys off one by one with relative ease, having the fresher tires, but it's going to be pretty much a game of where you catch them and how you pass them. You might be able to get by the 19 here. That's Aaron Ward on the apron. And here comes Peyton Howe knocking on 3rd. Todd Guerin there, due in part to the strategy call, has been able to move up 12 spots into the top 5 here. Make that 11 as he gets way loose as they get around that 13 car. I think he's just trying to bring it home with what tires he's got left on that number 13 machine. Caleb Hall in 2nd, doing a pretty stellar job on old tires here. Him and Jackson Lewis both. But here comes Peyton Howe. And it's going to be about 25 laps to go this time by. The final push to the end. 46, you're starting to see the car get a lot of control there. I think he's trying to give it all that it's capable of giving at the moment. That 46 is going to have to play defense here soon. That 52 is right on his back bumper. Some low lines being thrown down here. The 46 gets way low. But he's not going to be able to hold the 52's charge now as he takes that inside line away from him. But it's going to be a very hard-earned podium here if the 46 can just hold on for 23 more laps. Definite improvement over what he was running had he not taken a gamble here tonight. Oh, and there was just a slight bump from the 46, but that gives Hal sole possession of second place. Lap traffic now in front of Jackson Lewis. 99 of Aaron Ward pulls way high and lets him by. And this is going to be hard for Jackson Lewis. It's going to be a very, very hard-fought win if he can hold off the 52. There's a bump. He's giving him a bump on the back to let him know he's there. Peyton Howell not wasting any time as he pushes the 77 up high. Bumping, banging, rubbing his racing. Oh, and then we get... No way! Oh! Matt... Wow. Peyton Howell just got totally blindsided by Jackson Lewis, your race leader at one point. The 52 had taken that lead. That is a rough way. Wow, that ain't going to go over so well in the driver meetings afterwards. Peyton Howell was looking at getting his third win here tonight, but that just became immensely harder. Wow, what an ugly turn of events there. 52. I don't see that he did much wrong there. He was just kind of bumping and banging and tried to get the lead, but apparently 77 of Jackson Lewis did not appreciate the contact that was made there. I mean, he got loose, it looked like, clipped the wall there. There's not much not much to decipher here. That was a pretty hard hit from the 77, and it looks like he just kind of kept it glued into the turn there on the 52. So I ain't gonna be the judge. I'm not the jury. I definitely don't want to be in the midst of all of that when it comes down to Monday morning quarterbacks. The only thing I can think of that the 77 may not have liked was this bump on the inner to turn 4. Hal gives him quite a bump there, used him up, and he'd used him up the lap prior too on turns 1 and 2. But from the lead, that's pretty brutal. Well, now we've got a very unique trio at the front of the field. Caleb Hall, who has been playing the gamble game here tonight, hasn't really had a car capable of leading the race, and he may very well be rolling in to turn 1 with the lead here and 15 laps to go. Matthew Barkhouse, Cody Boehm, Mike Alexander, and Todd Guerin. I would not count out Brady Weileman back there in 6th, nor Jacob Boehm or Larson Parker at this point, as pretty much any of them could still find their way up to the front here in 15 laps time. Our two leaders get way into each other, and that's going to open the door for the 75 to give the 19 a bump, and they're wrecking at the front of the field. Cody Boehm gets through it. Mike Alexander gets through it. Brady Weileman gets through it. But holy cow, folks. I'm just trying to keep up with the racing action as it's happening, and it's jam-packed here tonight with all the action. Well, here we have it. The 75 just gets a clip of the 19 there. And that's where I was saying any of the drivers really from 8th on back, I still would not count out of the mix here tonight. The old tires definitely factored into this as you had some of the drivers with newer tires in the background trying to move up while the getting was good. And that 19 just could not save it there. Gets loose in front of Bame, in front of Hall, and takes a ride down onto the inside. Bame gets a pretty good clip there. We'll see if that dampers his car a little bit. The rest of them pretty much get through it without too much damage on their vehicles. So, well, it's going to be hard to figure out where things lie after tonight because you got so many storylines unfolding just in the final 25 laps of the race here tonight. We might start trying to figure out what races this season take the cake for being the wildest. This one and the last race at New Hampshire, we both had a leader getting taken out from the lead. Hopefully that's not a developing trend, but you never know. These guys are racing hard. They want to fight for the wins. And sometimes there's a miscalculation on the racetrack. That's just the way it goes when you get under four wheels in a full speed racetrack. Man, they are wrecking again. Our leader, Cody Bame, Larson Parker gets to hold on to the lead here for that what could be the final restart of the night, but we don't know. Well, with Cody Bame leading them to the restart for this last restart, looks like he clipped the wall, got loose. That's how the first entrance to turn one got set up there. And then he got loose, clips into the 46 here, and then it was just along for the ride after that. The 78 going for a wild spin right from the lead. He couldn't save that even if he tried. It got full sideways. Brady Weileman looking in. Ooh, that is the 00 of Jacob Bame getting some significant damage there. That is the 17 of AJ Rogers going for a spin and kissing that inside wall just a little bit. 28 of Corey Bigley. The 5 of Bill Tomer, and the 52 of Peyton Howell, still just trying to get through this race here tonight. Well, 6 laps going to 5 laps to go. Could very well be the final restart of the night. Mike Alexander, Brady Weileman, those two are licking their chops knowing that the win sits right there in front of them with Caleb Hall on old used tires. Mike Alexander gets a little off on the start there as Caleb Hall drives it into turn 1. But those tires, they're going to factor in here with 5 laps remaining. That's still a lot of racing to hold off some of the hard chargers in the background. 75 makes a valiant push there, and he's going to try to close the gap little by little. As we're hoping to see this race go green to the finish now. Mike Alexander hunting down Caleb Hall for the win. He's pushed side. Called out there too. Well, we got our winner here tonight. It is Caleb Hall, Mike Alexander, and Brady Weileman, your top 3. Just in time for the stream to resurface, it looks like. You get to see the 46 there of Caleb Hall celebrating with a donut. And so, apologies, I don't know how that crashed. It must have just been so intense that the racing decided to kind of crap out on us there, but we did get the finishing results here up on the board. And man, what a wild race. There was a lot to unpack here tonight. Holding tight here to see if I've got anyone in our chat that is going to be capable of hopping in. Do have our winner. Well, if anything, it looks like I'll be able to interview our race winner here. The rest of the podium I don't see up there, so. Caleb Hall, do you copy?
Yes, sir.
Man, what a wild race it was here tonight at Kern County. I was trying to keep up with the race there, and I felt like you must have stayed out. Did you actually get to stay out on old tires?
So I somebody made it 3 wide on a restart earlier and pulled down to the bottom lane and stopped and ripped the nose off. So I went to the back, went a lap down or two, got my damage fixed, and under one of those yellows when I got the last like few seconds, I put tires on. Peyton and them, they had like 20 lap pressure, and it showed, but also my damage showed as well. So I was kind of got lucky with them two getting into kind of what's the word for it? A piston match with each other. So yeah, I benefited from it greatly.
Yeah, kerfuffle or whatever you want to call it. It was definitely a game of strategy at a short track, which I didn't exactly, expect to see, play out, but it did. And you came out on top of the strategy game here today, and pulled it into victory lane. What else could you say about the racetrack here tonight? Did you have fun? Is this one of your first times racing at Kern County, or is it one of many that you've been here?
We race here all the time on the official side, and I've won the Daniel Williams Memorial here with those people here. I love this racetrack. Shockingly, a lot of strategy does come into it because the top gets so dominant. It is. I mean, a lot of people were heads off their swivel tonight. I went back and watched mine and Cody's contact, and some people said it wasn't netcode, but I promise you, a car doesn't jump up a lane and a half with the sound of netcode to push somebody up there. So, I mean, I do apologize to him. His car was super destroyed. I mean, I called him 3 links on a straightaway on the restart. So, I honestly didn't think, I wasn't even expecting him to make the corner because his car was that destroyed on the right front. But I just want to thank Bill and Jeff and Daniel and all the guys at ITVR for putting this on. I haven't got to finish a race this year, but we've made some noise in both of them so far and been up front. I just hope that we can continue this for the rest of the season.
Heck yeah, glad to see the race in action here tonight. It was definitely something to keep us on our toes. So keep at it, and we'll see you in the next one.
All right, thanks, man.
Yep. And with that, folks, fortunately, it doesn't look like Mike Alexander or we got Brady Weileman if he would be into. We'll go ahead and bring Brady into the booth here. Hey Brady, do you copy?
Yep.
How was this race tonight? Wasn't it crazy or what?
Yeah, that was really crazy. I didn't really expect. Well, actually, you know what? I did expect to get a top three out of that, but I didn't think it would be the, go that way. It did. I mean, that was just crazy. My teammate getting full throttled into one there, that was crazy, and just I don't know, but you know, it's just this racing and short track racing. That's what you're gonna get. So, luckily enough, we came out of here with a P3 and take it and finally finish a race with a clean car.
Right. Yeah, we've seen the speed out of that car. You've definitely had, you know, top 5 pace and just some bad fortune I think was striking you at New Hampshire and you probably had decent run going at North Wilkesboro as well. So how do you feel about the next races on the schedule? Do you feel like it's going to be in your wheelhouse?
Well, I haven't raced at Myrtle Beach yet. I've never raced there. I actually haven't raced at Kern either. This was my first ever race at Kern. So hopefully, if I put in the time and the laps, we'll be right up to par with everyone else. But we'll just see how the season goes. Obviously a lot of luck has to go into these races. Being in the right spot at the right time. That's where we were today. We're in the right spot at the right time. So just got to have a lot more of that, and hopefully, we'll start finishing good again.
Well, is there any sponsors, friends, family you want to thank for getting you to this point?
I want to shout out CTD. They make a lot of great bowling products, ball cleaners. Their True Cut surface pads are great, and Unrivaled Esports is the team I'm on. I want to thank Bladen and Peyton Howe for having me on, and then I want to thank my dad for watching and you guys for doing the broadcast.
Well, if I want to get bowling, I know the guy to talk to now. So thanks again for hopping in the booth here, and best of luck for the rest of the season. It's definitely going to be a fun one to watch.
Hell yeah. All right. Thank you, guys.
Yep. Well, and that rounds out our podium interviews here tonight. Mike Alexander not available, but I am sure he is just stoked to get second place here tonight in the race. So thanks again, everyone, for tuning in. The race was chaotic, full of action, and we're going to have to pick up the pieces after this one and start figuring out some maybe points changes for the race going on next week. So have a wonderful night, folks. Stay safe out there. And until next time, this is Jakester signing out for Intensity